Although I probably did an art recording. Maybe I was wrong. It's fine. We lost so much good stuff.
The cutting room floor of this podcast is just littered with gems.
There's not much of the cutting room floor, but if there was, it'd be fantastic.
It's mostly me.
It's mostly Tina's voiceover and her laugh. All right, here we are. We're live in Nashville at another recording studio with our good friend, Heather Dunn. Here she is, Tina.
Woo!
Oh, Nashville.
In the flesh.
Thanks for coming to Nashville.
Yeah, anytime.
We're happy to be here,
Yeah.
even though it's raining. But, you know.
There's
Yeah,
no
we'll
better
take it.
place to record an awesome podcast.
There isn't.
Nashville.
It's a great studio. We're excited to be here. It's our third different one. Third different? That doesn't sound right.
It is different.
The
and
third
it is
time,
the
but a
third.
different studio every time. And it's, I like it a lot. It's very fun. It's good sound, hopefully.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, what were we going to do today? Well, we wanted to do 22 in review, right? Yes?
Oh,
Yes.
So much has happened in
So much has
22.
happened in 22. So we want to do that. We want to give some totally random awards. I don't know what you guys did, but I did. So we have not planned this out. No.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know what Tina's
Because
done.
we don't ever plan it out.
I don't know
No.
what they've done, but I did like random awards that were nice awards, and then I did like some Razzies. What I don't know. Do you remember do you know what those are?
Yes.
Tina, what
Or
are
the
those?
Hasty Pudding Awards, like that, where like
Hasty pudding.
well, the Razzies are awards given to the worst performances of
Yes,
the year, and the
yes.
best stars show up to accept them, as far as I'm concerned. The people
Well,
who
who's
actually,
shown up? Who's shown
I
up?
believe
It's like
Sandra Bullock. I believe
right?
Sandra
Yeah.
Bullock has shown up to accept her
wow.
Razzie in person.
What was it for? What was Sandra's for?
That's a great question. I don't think
A
I
little
know.
trivia. Not sure. either.
Anybody?
I don't know. I've never seen
Listen,
them.
leave your answer in the comments.
You never
and,
seen these?
you'll
I've
win a
never seen the
prize.
Razzies.
So it's like, when did it start? Like Last Action Hero? Like the worst
Oh, I
movie
couldn't
ever?
say.
I don't know. Anyways, they were like, well, we're giving out awards for like these terrible performances, right? Like you give awards for good stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have a few awards I can give out for stuff that I didn't really appreciate this year.
Huh. So does like a whole committee, is it like the Oscars where there's like,
No, I don't
they
think so.
employ like E and
Yeah.
Y to like go
There might be
collect all
No,
the
I think
ballots?
there's
maybe
like a
three
couple
people.
dudes,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's
So
a,
3 people decide the worst of things and then
Yeah,
invite the stars
basically.
to
and
come
they
in.
have
Oh, fun.
a trophy that looks like a raspberry.
Yeah, right.
Well, what do they say? Like, as long as people are, whether they're saying anything good or bad, at least they're talking about you,
All
like that kind of
publicity
thing.
is
So
good publicity.
yeah. So
I don't know if it's necessarily true. You've been on the other side of it. Okay, so I wanted.
have you ever
What are you
received a Razzie?
saying?
What are you saying?
No,
Ben?
when I've been on
You've gotten bad
some slack
publicity?
this year for some stuff. Yeah.
No, you for what?
I mean, who could
everything
imagine?
you say is just
Oh,
so
just gold.
amazing.
It's gold. I got a little slack for some stuff I said. Yeah.
Are you gonna talk about that in your
I mean, we can.
2022 review?
We sure can.
We should do the 2022 review of things Ben said.
All right.
Let's do that.
Oh, let's not do that. I was really one in particular. I think I got a lot of slack. Well, that's not true. I probably got a couple.
You got a lot of followers, though. I bet.
No, I didn't. My followers come and go. I found out. It's just-
Really? I didn't know you
Yes.
could unfollow somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Can you
yes, you-
unfollow them?
Oh yes, you can.
Oh,
You can
nice.
unfollow and they will never know. And that's like literally what it says. Unfollow and they will not be notified.
Because
I'm
I
like,
think sometimes my numbers go up, and then I look and be like, "Oh, that's weird. They're about the same. That seems odd. I feel like
Huh.
I've gained followers."
I've lost so
I did not know that.
I got a
lost.
lot more in 22. I will say followers versus like connection requests. Like
Oh,
more
yep.
people following me versus like
Mhm.
actually trying to connect, which I think is interesting. That's a shift.
Yeah.
That's happened before.
I refuse
know what
to follow people.
Thanks, Tina.
No, I'm connected to you. I don't need to follow you. But I
She
refuse
should
to
be-
if that's the choice,
Basically, she's saying I'm refusing to follow
I
you.
go through and find the connect button. Like I don't
Well, this is
follow.
what's weird about LinkedIn. Sometimes you can't connect with somebody. You can only follow
And
them.
then I
And I
won't
don't know
follow
if that's
them.
their choice.
No, they
or...
max out at 30,000 connections.
Okay. So once you get 30,000 connections, you can only
Like
follow
Shay
people
has
after
more
that.
than he maxed out a couple years ago, so he can only get people to follow him at this
That
point.
is not surprising to me.
I
I think
know,
Shay
it's-
could name 30,000 people he personally knows. They've probably all been
Right.
to his house in
Shay's
his backyard.
gonna be pissed that we're here
at
and
his
didn't
pool.
invite him.
We're-
He's gonna be pissed. I'm sorry, Shay, in advance.
Oh no, I didn't think about that.
I didn't either. Sorry, buddy.
Maybe he's off doing an
Yeah, he's
Iron
gone.
Man.
He's
or
busy.
Yeah,
he's busy.
he's running somewhere on a
Sure
bike.
he's-
He's on a bike.
He's with his children.
Yes.
They're all
Oh no,
together.
okay, I can't do
running.
it. We can't. I don't want to. I don't want to get Shay mad at us already.
He would never be mad.
All right, so I want to do that. What else should we do? I feel like it should just be like we should review the season because Heather was our guest this year.
Mhm.
We should do that a little bit. I think that's it. All right, let's dive into it. Let's go 2022 in review. What are your
Here's something I'm not going to talk about in
Okay.
2022.
okay?
We're not going to talk about COVID anymore.
Well, no, that's
Everybody starts with, well, when COVID. I mean, I know it's like a
Oh.
period in time, but like while we talk about 2022, let's not start with like,
I wasn't going to. You
okay,
just brought
good.
it
I
up.
just want to say that out loud. Like I feel like every time people want to talk about something, it starts with, well, during COVID, when COVID started, I'm like, we're done. Can we be done? I mean, I know the PHE hasn't ended or anything, but I just want to move on.
Oh,
From
no, I'm
the
done.
COVID thing.
I think it was like a good looking back on the year. Personally, Tina and I did 2 Leaders Forum events, full
Which was-
events.
Yes.
So at the beginning of the year, I thought that might not happen. So that's good. You know?
And they were
like,
in person.
Big highlight in person.
Mm-hmm.
They were great.
They were
places.
great. I really think because we had lost some momentum due to the thing that shall not be named.
Named.
And seeing actually that we regained that, I think by this fall, I really felt that way. We had
Yes.
Mhm.
we had registrations as we, where we like them to be, and we had it kind of locked down early on, which is always comforting. I think for at least
There was
for
a
me.
good group this last RCM forum.
And we
It
were
was a
missing
great
5 people, if you can
group.
imagine. 5 last
more
minute
people.
cancellations.
Yeah.
2 people had COVID. Yeah,
I
like
believe
just
that.
stuff happened. But
Yep. And the room, although smaller,
we
like
still bring it up.
no, I really think that added to the engagement.
You
I
think so?
I
Being
really do.
Jammed in there?
I
for
think
those of you who were
everybody jammed in there. It created just a bigger sense of community, right? Because your table was small and you sort of like couldn't avoid other people, and there was a lot of cross talking going on because you couldn't help it because the table next to you was right next to you,
there.
and
Literally right next to
literally
you.
right next to you. But I think it felt more open, engaged, transparent than previous forums. I think we're like that was, although it was not intended, I actually like those smaller rooms. It felt more engaged just by proximity, and I think there was good, even kind of psychological safety in the room. People did feel
We
like
try
they
to get
could
that
open
every
up.
time. Whether
So-
it was a room small or it was too small. Next time we'll get like an old prison. You guys can stay in the old prison.
Yeah,
Oh.
it'll kind of
Make it just real,
We're just-
real tight.
water and bread for everyone.
Yeah,
Orange
that's right.
jumpsuits. We'll all
That's
dress
right.
alike. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the
occasionally
next.
you'll go throw a question at us. We'll have to talk about or something.
Like-
I like the
like Hunger
breakouts,
Games.
by the way. The breakouts were really fun, and I like the fact that we could leave to go do those in a comfortable spot and then come back and talk
Yeah, we
about it.
would
I thought
ask
that
some
was
people.
brilliant.
That was a pivot. I'm gonna say this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just was like, oh man, we got to get people out of this room for a little bit. That
It was great. I like that. And I also loved, at first I didn't,
What?
but then I loved
What?
the assigned tables.
It's the best.
It's awesome.
You have to do it. People are like, I have an assigned table, and I'm like, of course you do, because otherwise you just sit with people you know. I'm
That's
not
right.
doing that.
Yes. I
You
loved
have
it.
to sit with different people. Usually I switch it up on day 2, but I felt like, we'll get enough people, like just get to know each other at the table.
I think dinner should be assigned seats too.
I almost did that, but we didn't. We should have.
We can.
Or at some point somebody needs to like blow a whistle or something and everybody has to get up
Rotate.
and move.
Yes,
You know?
that's
So
why I
like
love doing
everybody has
that.
to move.
Yes, I love
'Cause
that.
I didn't get a chance to talk to everybody, and everybody was very social, and
Mhm.
I just liked it. I thought this forum was amazing, and I think the
Oh,
next one,
that's
the
so
one
nice
coming
of
up
you.
in the spring, is going to be fabulous.
Everyone needs Heather time, that's for sure.
That's right.
Mhm.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
We even got to hang out with Heather's husband. How fun was that?
Love it.
Amazing.
He's amazing.
Love him.
It's hard to say he's like better. Like he's as advertised. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He really is.
So
A
we're
lot
gonna
of
have
people
dinner with him tomorrow night, which I'm excited
Yep.
about.
A lot of people wanted to talk to him. I was like, he's a great guy. I mean,
It's a bummer my wife couldn't make it. She's definitely
a-
better than I am.
She's a great guy too.
Yeah.
We love her.
I
he's
kicked,
a great guy too.
I kicked way out of my coverage.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Ooh, is that a sports thing?
That's forget it.
Sports analogy.
Forget it. What else happened in 22? Let's go through that. I want to say there was big mergers. That was one of my things of like the big mergers in the industry. R1 and CloudMed coming together, and then finally the FTC allowing Optum and was it Change?
Change healthcare.
Which I still can't believe, but that's a different story. I can't believe they let it go through.
I can't believe they let it go through either, but the power of lobbyists.
When there's enough money involved.
Yep. And you have lawyer up. So.
And I'm happy for Lee and for John, for Sparby. I think those guys, it'll be interesting to see how R1 and CloudMed do. I mean, I think could be good, but it's also like some of those things have gone bad.
Yeah, those
so
are two.
Hopefully that doesn't happen, but
I would hope that R1 would continue to allow CloudMed to be innovative. And sometimes when you get into a bigger organization, things start to change and the focus changes and you tend to lose some of the good stuff, right? How many small places have been bought up by bigger places and then they either kill it, right? They kill the innovation or they kill the whole concept, or they just put so much overhead on it, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Well, the other thing too is like when you bring those together and you roll up companies, it sounds great in theory, but then you have like everyone has their own culture, and then like do you take the best culture and everyone kind of molds into that one? But like that's not how it always works. A lot of times the culture just has to change, and that could be really good or it could be really bad. So I think that was just my observation on those things. I think the Optum one just for me is like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe they tried to do that. They did it. I guess tried and they did it. I still can't believe it. I'm still just in shock, honestly.
I wonder how it's going to change healthcare in general. I mean, there's so many people who use some component of Change or some component of Optum. You can't get away from it. But how are healthcare organizations who are using those products, are they going to stay with Change? Are they going to stay with Optum? Are they going to migrate away from them? What's the service going to look like?
It's all incestuous though. Like I looked at acquisition for one of my clients, and like the acquisition was a good one, but like 50% of their revenue came from a white label through Optum. Does that make sense? Right.
Yes.
And so it's like that it's all kind of intermingled. I'm like, so my prediction is actually that Optum will start spinning out parts of their business and selling it. So they've gotten big enough now where they'll hopefully, I'm sure their mindset is they'll grow the business, and then they'll start, sloughing off parts and selling them. That's my guess. If I had to guess, that's what they would do.
Why wouldn't they just keep it all? Just continue to get bigger.
Because they can, in each one of those transactions, they can make up for all the differences. Like all the stuff they've spent on acquiring them, they can make a bunch of money from.
But don't you think that what they really want is the intellectual property that they get behind having those entities, those groups with them?
Maybe. But I also think like they're getting too big. It gets to a point where it gets so big that you're never going to do really, really well at that business, like a niche business, like complex claims. They'll never do great with it. Because how could you? How could you? I don't know how you would. How would you compete with somebody that's all they're thinking about?
That's true. And I think that's what happens when you consolidate like the R1 CloudMed thing, right? So there are certain aspects of CloudMed that are really, really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've brought on different components of their organization and they've mastered those things. And that's a concern, right? Is like now that you're going to be part of something bigger, are you going to lose that innovation? Are you going to lose the ability to be niche about something? And for those of us that use products from those organizations, that's a concern for all of us. Am I still going to get the same service? Am I still going to get the same, that ability when you're smaller to make customizations on the fly and really make a difference happens so much quicker when you don't have, things you have to deal with.
Right. Roadblocks in the way.
Right. And I think sometimes being part of a bigger organization just adds more roadblocks.
Absolutely.
Now you've got committees that have to approve or think through or have an opinion about, and that's hard. It's hard to manage.
Right.
You're
And
not
they
going to be
have different metrics for right, for profitability and
that's right.
workforce, and you end up
Oh,
And
no.
that's how your culture starts to change, because
But
the
you
people
also-
who
No,
don't
totally.
thrive under that are not going to stay. And then now your account rep you've had for the last 10 years is gone, right?
Mhm.
We have a friend, I won't name her name, but we have a friend who's going through that right now. And it's like the new company was like, no, you have to do it this way. You have to come in. He's like, what, am I in trouble? Like, no, you have to do it this way. You can't do it the way you've been doing it. He's like, what is the difference?
Yeah.
You know? So it's like those shifts of like, well, no, this is the way we're doing it. But but the unintended consequence of that, because that person, in their own world is like, this is the way we do it.
Mm-hmm.
But like the unintended consequence is like it just starts stifling that other group or the other person, right? It's like, why do I got to deal with this now? Like, what? Who cares?
Right.
So I think that'll be it'll be interesting to watch. May not see 2023 might not be revealing, but I think over the next couple of years
It'll take a while
It'll
for
take a
that to show up. Yeah.
All right, what else? I gotta look at my notes. What else did we have in 22 that we're reflecting on?
What happened in your world, Heather? Tell us something.
Oh my gosh, what happened in our world? Well, I will say that healthcare as we knew it back in 2019 is starting to show itself again and worse. So the trends, at least in revenue cycle, we're right back to fighting for payment, high denials.
Sure.
It's like between 2020 and 2022, the time period that shall go unnamed, payers were a lot friendlier, I think. And we started to see, as little cash as we did during that time, right? It was slowly trickling in, but there was not as much denials as we have now. And it's only proven that there's definitely a game behind the whole thing. So sorry. I mean,
Well, their medical loss ratios were so low, they almost like had to pay just because they were like so low. It's unbelievable.
Yes. Well, and look at how much money they're making now. It's
wild.
It's unbelievable.
I have to buy my own insurance, and I don't know if you had this, but I had got a check both years from Blue Cross in premiums because with a letter that says by law we're required to keep a medical loss ratio of X percent, and we were like this, and I was like, what? Like, why don't you just lower my premium? What are you?
Right.
And they're gonna increase premiums again by like 5%. It's like, what are you talking about?
I know.
No, there's not as much care being given, so how could you do that? What actuarial model you're using would tell you that it's going to be more than it was last year?
The one
None.
that their stockbrokers and C-suite
Exactly.
would like to get bigger paychecks. That's
like,
the one that they're using.
I used to think like, oh, those guys are just like actuarial geniuses, and this is what they can figure it out. Like, no, they just keep raising it because, and they might have that, but they just keep raising it because they know they can.
Yes.
So I just find it fascinating. It was like, send me a check. Why don't you just lower the premium?
Right.
So like I'm not paying as much.
And what happened?
And I pay so much. I'm like
I know.
$17.50 a month.
I know.
So
And
if you don't have
use that,
like, that's my family. So I have a family, but like that's not a crazy plan. I mean, it's a good plan, but it's not like crazy. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
mm-hmm.
Sorry,
They're
I
right
didn't mean to
back.
interrupt you.
We're right back at it. It's like the reprieve that was given is over, and now they're going to come back for the profits. They're going to hold payments, and they also, everyone's really challenged by staffing. I mean, everyone is challenged with staffing. So if you write an appeal, there's got to be a person on the other end of it to read the records, process the appeal, do whatever it is. So we're still in that situation too, and we're going to be like that, I think, for a while. So
I think hotels are doing the same thing. I feel like hotels are just gouging us.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. Because we have to go and bid out for events way in advance. And it's like the stuff we get back is like, what are you talking about?
We saw some stuff for fall that was
spring.
insane.
Even
in spring, even
in Nashville here, in this lovely town of Nashville. So there's a couple RFPs that came back like $600 a night, $550 a night.
Wow.
And it wasn't like, oh, that's the what you remember. Not that
it
farm
wasn't the
place.
Four
It's not the.
It wasn't the. And it wasn't,
it wasn't
the
Four Seasons or the one
Blackberry
that's Blackberry Farms. We didn't even bother with those guys. I didn't.
Oh yeah.
But actually, I asked. They
Well,
were
Blackberry
sold
just
out.
didn't
They
have
were
space.
unavailable.
Black
They were
They were
sold
sold
out.
out.
Mhm.
Wow. Probably
space.
Blue
No
Cross
space for
Blue
you.
Shield must have been having their events.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did that come out?
Full spa package.
You're going to have to put
full,
the E
full
on this
spa
one,
package
Ben.
for everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah, $550. It was like at the Marriott.
Paid
I'm
for
like,
by,
are you out
by
of your
Ben
freaking
Regal's
mind?
premiums.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, oh,
Just,
brutal.
oh, this drink is on. This drink is on Ben.
I'm like, they are making up for every dollar they lost in 2020. So, okay, I guess
Yeah.
that's not sustainable. Can't be sustainable. You cannot keep rates that high.
No, they are expensive.
So crazy. So I think that, that's for sure. My other thing for 22 was on a similar vein was just the losses the health systems are taking.
Expenses. Expenses are high.
Well, it was agency, right? Like agency nurses basically was like that. There was some stat that was like
Supplies.
Providence was paying,
Dogs.
I think this came from Providence, was they were paying like 70% more for nursing than they were the year
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
If you just mix in like agency, which I know
Mhm.
that's going to come back down at some point, but it's like, oof, that's rough.
It reminds me of remember when we moved to ICD-10 and coders were
Yes.
the most expensive.
It was the heyday for being a
It's
coder. You're like,
crazy.
sweet.
Oh yeah. I was in the Houston Medical Center at the time, and I jokingly said we should just put a boxing ring in the middle of the medical center so we could fight over the coders, because they would just go from hospital to hospital and just get
keep picking
more
up.
and more and more money. It was crazy. And then that kind of
Well, that died down, and now it's
It did.
like, oh yeah, coders, we'll get those in the Philippines. Thanks.
right can't do the same thing, I guess, with nurses. So somebody's got to
No.
be bedside. But it is, you know what? It is another moment to be innovative, right? There's a crisis, and now we need to be innovative. And so, how many health systems are, doing what they can to support people who want to be a nurse, willing to pay for people's education, willing to pay for their experience,
No,
bedside, willing to put them on other,
Totally.
tracks for education and for, advancement in the organization. And I think that's great. I mean, health systems wouldn't exist without nurses. I think they're the most important people in healthcare, right? Several of the most important positions in healthcare. Everyone's got a part, but they were, I think, for a long time not valued to that extent. And I've appreciated seeing all of the work that people have gone into and
For
all the
sure,
creative
right.
ideas about getting them elevated.
No, or they just
I
even the
love that.
models have changed. I liked how Nick, from RWJ brought they're like centralized all their UR, but then they like even made it so that they made that a position that was not like you don't have to be in the hospital to do that.
Right.
We could even put some of that
Yes.
offshore so they could respond
Yep.
within, it's 24 hours a day. You got 24 hours a day moving, and it can be cheaper. Like we can do that a model a different way.
Yeah. Our UR nurses have been remote. And I think, with the exception of a few that have to come in, every couple of days, there's a camaraderie that does exist in some aspects, right? Like in the OR or in the ED, where you kind of have a different relationship with the providers, right? But it's really getting people, at least for us, it was to work at the top of their license, right? We were having them do things that didn't make any sense. They weren't even integrated in our EMR.
No.
We needed to get them into our
Right.
EMR. They were cutting and pasting everywhere into this old legacy, EMR, because we didn't bother putting them onto Epic when we went live, right? So we had to move them into Epic.
Well,
And
yeah, Midas, whatever.
yeah, they were
Yes.
on some
Oh,
old
yeah.
legacy system
Oh,
that
yeah.
they were literally cutting and pasting from.
It's good
And
times.
It's just, it shows there's so much improvement that still needs to be made. I mean, to Nick's point, right? Why did he offshore some of that? Well, because they're reading faxes. We're still operating off of
Yes.
fax machines.
Remember I was
You can
talking
call
about
it
that?
whatever you want,
Faxes.
but right fax is a fax
Fax
machine,
machine.
right? So even though it faxes into an electronic record, right? I was like, Nick, how do you get the data? And he said they hand key it in. So this is where we're at still.
He
right?
still had actual fax machines.
Yes.
That was
reading
a thing.
faxes and keying data into the EMR from a fax machine.
Yeah.
From a fax.
Can you buy a fax machine?
I don't know.
Oh, yes,
Do you
you
think
can.
Amazon?
Absolutely, you can buy
Let's
a
look
fax
that up.
machine.
Let's look that
And
up.
if you need one, I got like 4 right down the street at the office.
Do you have the
'cause
paper
we
that's
have
like
to-
the
That curls
roll
up?
that curls up? Remember those?
Oh, no, I don't have that.
And then they would like cut off, and then they'd
Terrible.
You don't
roll
remember
under
that?
the table.
I do remember that.
And then it would like shoot, it would
Yep,
just come out
you'd
of the thing
lose
and
it
just go.
forever.
You lose it. It'd be like, where'd that thing go? It was
Yeah.
like 4, and then there's a limit on pages.
Yes, there's always a limit on
Oh,
pages.
you had to write on the top page. No one knows what I'm talking about. Younger
do.
people are like, what the frick? I don't know what I'm talking
Well,
about.
younger
right
people
now.
who work in revenue cycle and healthcare know
They still
exactly
know. Yeah,
what
they
you're
still
talking
know.
about. 'cause
They're,
they're
like,
still
no,
dealing
I
with
know
it.
that what we're talking
Yep.
about. Yeah, fax machines. Well, that'll be 2022. Hopefully next year we're still talking about fax machines.
No advancements in fax machines in 2022.
That's right. But we will
No
find out.
advancements.
We'll report back on whether or not you can buy one and whether or not Ben has installed one in his home on a hard
Fax
phone
machine?
line. Yeah.
I don't have one of those either. I don't know how to do that.
What? You don't have a printer? You don't have a what?
No,
No,
he doesn't have
phone line.
a phone line.
Oh, I have a phone line.
Do
I
you?
absolutely.
Who
What?
calls you on it?
Yeah, wait.
Nobody.
I have a phone. I have a phone, but it runs through the internet. It doesn't run through like a phone line.
Oh, you mean like a jack in the wall kind of thing?
Yeah,
And
a
and
jack.
a phone
Like a
jack.
jack in the
a phone
box.
jack,
A landline.
right?
Did you just do like the
landline.
Jack in the Box thing?
No, I mean like a
oh,
phone jack. That's what
oh.
it's called. The
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
in
yeah.
the
I got
wall.
you.
the-
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, ours runs off of the internet too, but
I have it because my girls are teenagers now, so no, they don't even use that phone. I don't know why we have it. My girls, one of their favorite things is the phone rings and like, oh, I'm getting that, and every time it's like Ava, my oldest, will try to answer with a different like, hello, this is Sally.
I do that to my kids when they call me.
ridiculous. It's always
Who is
ridiculous,
this? Right?
Like,
They
or
call
some
you.
pizza place. Or like, this is.
Oh yeah,
They
I
think
do
they're
that.
so
Joe's
funny
Pizza Shop.
because it's always not someone we know because no one has that number, right? It's not like it's my, mother-in-law or something. No one's calling that number.
I let my kids use. We call it the house phone. My kids don't
house
have
phone.
the house phone. My kids don't have cell phones. They're too little.
Yeah,
For
mine too.
phones,
I'm not
right?
giving them a cell phone.
And so I let them use the house phone. Chad and I will like take the dog for a walk. I mean, we're gone for 15 minutes. Nothing is going to happen, right? And we're like, you're locked in the house. Daddy and I are going to go for a walk. And I don't get to the bottom of the driveway before somebody calls, right? Mommy, where are you? I'm like, bottom of the driveway. Like, okay, when are you going to be back? I'm like, we're back in 12 minutes.
Never.
30 seconds later, Mommy, where are you now? I'm like, I'm at the tree, just past the bottom of the driveway.
Well, your kids are like 10 and 9.
9 and 11.
Yeah, so we're at an age now where it's like they don't even care where we're at.
I know. I feel like they'd be like, "Can we have a snack? Mom, we're hungry."
Oh,
Like we
they're
just
always
left.
hungry.
We
What
can-
is that, right? Like, why are kids always like focused on food? Like, why does that happen?
It gets worse. Just wait.
It's crazy. It's like they're eating breakfast. What's for dinner? You're eating breakfast. You're not hungry, but we need to. Am I getting a snack? Like, you're still eating breakfast. Like, why are
my
we talking
youngest was
about
literally
that?
freaking out the other day. It was like 10 o'clock, and she's like, I want pizza. And I'm like, there's no pizza. We're not getting pizza right now. She's like, I'll pay for a DoorDash. I don't care. I'm like, oh my God, you want me to
And you're like,
DoorDash or
"Nobody-"
Little Caesars here? You're going to pay $15 for a cheese pizza from Little Caesars. That's what she wanted. I'm like,
The
you're out
original?
of your freaking mind.
The original Little Caesars? Because you're in Detroit. Isn't that
Yeah.
where the original
Yeah.
Little Caesars is?
I mean, there might be an original. I don't know.
I'm sure they're
Chad,
one of
there
them.
is.
Chad says there's an original.
One of
and
them is the
he
original.
actually he
Well,
told me
Chad
the
would
other
know.
day.
I don't know.
Chad's like, there's an original Little Caesars, and I never realized until the other day that the tagline, pizza pizza, meant you got 2 pizzas. You always get
Oh,
get
that
2, buy
well,
one
you
get
don't
one, right?
anymore.
You don't anymore, but that was the original.
Yes, that
Oh,
was-
see, that was the. I
Because
didn't
then
know
they
that
came
was
up
the
with,
original
what saved
model.
Little Caesars actually? Little Caesars in a lot of trouble.
What?
The $5 hot and ready. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. That saved them. That was actually the thing that turned that whole business around.
$5 pizzas.
The hot and ready.
Hot
They
and
call
ready.
it hot and ready. So
You
it'd
just walk
always be
in,
there.
$5
There'd always be
go.
like pepperoni pizza,
Nice.
hot and ready. No, they're terrible. Like they're
Oh, yeah.
awful.
We
I
don't know.
refuse to eat
It's
it.
mostly
But that's a
made of
different story.
sawdust. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Like we don't know
positive
what those
it is.
ingredients
I'm
are. No
positive it
offense,
is.
Little Caesars.
So they're
and-
not winning any awards for like
There's
best
no
pizza.
awards for best pizza from us.
Are they getting a Razzie then for pizza?
No, I hadn't thought about it, but we should. We should give them a Razzie for just
walk in and put
bad
the
pizza.
We'll never have-
raspberry
we'll
trophy.
never have
and
a
walk
pizza
out.
sponsor for the podcast.
I'm high maintenance though. I gotta be honest.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
only
know
like
I am.
pizza from certain places.
Yeah, you know I
I
am.
just
Chad's from Detroit, guys. Detroit has very good pizza. It has its own
the
Detroit
square
pizza.
pizza.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
amazing.
He loves that, and he likes pizza subs, which is also, I guess,
That's
kind
a
of
thing,
Detroit
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And it's hard. You can't find it anyplace
A
else.
grinder, they call it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
whenever we go back there, he's got to go get himself a pizza.
What else? What else do you guys have? I have. Oof. I have. I have Olive on the list, but I think in typical, it wasn't just Olive. It was like just layoffs in general from kind of some of these bigger tech firms that had huge valuations. I think we count Cedar in there and some others for sure. I think that was just like okay, these guys probably aren't worth $4 billion. Like shocker.
That's incredible. Just the simple fact that You know what it did though? I'll say what it did is it inspired other people to actually be open to the idea of more technology in the revenue cycle space. Even though all of those things
Did it?
fell
You
apart.
think so?
I really do. I think it highlighted a possibility, and I think a lot of other people and a lot of other organizations and different companies latched onto it. And there's so much more tech being driven toward revenue cycle than there ever has been in the 20 plus years I've been doing this. And I really do believe that, there's a couple of them that started it, like Digitize. Do you remember them?
Mm-hmm.
They're gone. They started it. They started talking about it. Olive started talking about it. Other people have come out, right, and started talking about the possibility, right, of putting technology into a revenue cycle space, and other people have latched onto it. Whether you did that within your own organization or whether you partnered with somebody else, it really did spawn some creativity and some focus in that area, which I appreciate, even though it is tragic, the whole idea, and I think they went in a completely wrong direction, or maybe too many directions. But I do think that what came from that, and it's still happening, even though they might not be, the headliner anymore, I think people are still focused on that. They saw the value again, and I think they're behind it. And that's where you're going to start to see more traction and more tech in a revenue cycle.
Yeah. I think, execution was the issue, right? The issue for me that I probably I got some heat for was just, no one bats an eye if Olive or Cedar or whoever it is takes, I don't know, let's say $90 million in capital.
Yeah.
But when you start taking numbers that just are ludicrous because your valuation's so high, like that's where I get to be like, what are you spending? Like, what could you spend that money on? You cannot hire enough developers.
No.
Let's just say you got $500 million in capital. I don't know, outside of buying other big companies, which they did not do. They bought a few, either of them. Like, I don't know what you do with that money. So then it's like, what is that money? Is that all spent on marketing? Like, what do you spend it on? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I don't know either.
So
I
that's
can
my
imagine.
issue with it, and and I've said that publicly. I think a lot of people, when I did that post about this, in this case about Olive, it wasn't. I'm not going to call it Olive in particular. I just was like, it just made me mad. They were going to now divest thing and lay off a bunch of people, and I think like everyone's thinking it like, what in the world are you guys doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the feedback I got was very, very positive that I said something, but also like, well, could you say that about other groups? And I was like, yeah, if it's egregious as what I just witnessed, I would say it. I feel like I have to say it. Like, who else can say it at this point? You guys could, but even then, you get to be like the pariahs.
I guess I don't understand enough about a whole like VC backed organization to really make a statement about it, because I can only imagine that once somebody gives you money to do something, do you really have control of your organization anymore? I can imagine not, because if I gave somebody $90 million, I wouldn't be like, all right, do what you need to do. I'd be like, oh, okay, we're going to talk about what you're going to do with my $90 million. And I don't know if that was I don't know if that's part of the problem, is that now you have people who know nothing about healthcare finance.
They don't.
Trying to run an organization for you. And I wonder if you're kind of, selling out to somebody and letting them decide for you. Is that really what the problem is? I mean, or is it a matter of like, who's going to back you? How much influence they're going to have over decision-making, day-to-day operations, kind of your strategic plan.
But there's all those things. But I think the reality is, if you're raising that much money, all you're doing is raising money. You're not actually working on the company. So I hate to say this, but if I'm Sean, he had to basically spend all his time raising money. You have to. There's no other way to do it. You can't raise that much money to do that many rounds.
So then who was
who's
running the place
round,
like day to day? That
Who
wasn't.
knows?
It's not him.
But that's the
Uh-huh.
point. It takes out the focus off of like
Right.
you have to like you're living to the next like okay we're gonna raise more money because we have to, or you feel like you have to.
Mm.
And I'm not blaming him. I think there's probably lots of pressure associated with like you took money. I always say like
Now you need to perform.
someone's gonna pay
Mhm.
the piper at some point. They're
Right.
expecting money to
Right.
come back. Now they will say like this happens all the time. Happens outside of healthcare. But the whole Elizabeth Holmes thing is like that happened because it was a wave of, frankly, a wave of like of hysteria because it caught and then everyone's like, we got to get on this train
Oh yeah.
because they want the whole Tesla thing. They want Apple. Everybody
Mhm.
wants the
The magic
so-
bullet. That
these other companies like they
Yeah.
created enough of a inspired vision, if you will,
Yes.
and people don't know, like you said, don't really know the industry that
Was
well
it-
enough. You
was
get
it
a bad
Walgreens or
recipe.
CVS that bought right into the whole
Walgreens.
what is it?
Walgreens.
It was Walgreens,
Theranos,
right?
yeah.
Theranos thing. So I was sitting at a 3M conference
Yeah.
when somebody at Walgreens, somebody important was the keynote, and he talked about Theranos. And I remember texting Chad and I said, this is going to change everything. If you can literally run
Yeah.
all these tests off of a drop of blood. I mean, everybody was talking about that. That was incredible. Do you think she wasn't spending her time going out and raising more capital? Wasn't she spending her time trying to figure out how to like run the tests and look like it was only a
100%
drop of blood, right?
no, she's definitely not doing that. She's 100% convincing people that she's solved this major
Yeah.
thing. 100%. You have to.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. And then once you're in it, it's like there's so many of these stories actually that are very similar, not on the same scale, but the same
Right.
same
Well, and
thing
think
where
how
it's
much,
like
like-
you're constantly having to go tell a lie.
right, and
Yes.
the ego,
And it
then
gets
your
bigger and
ego,
bigger.
right,
Oh,
is
yeah.
tied to $90 million or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then the
It's too far down the road.
humiliation of that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll
Public or not.
you will
like even
100% do things you would
right,
never do
in a-
normally.
right.
in a dark
right?
room alone at night.
Yeah.
That's some scary business.
Well, now
right?
you've told people how great it is. And now
Yes.
people work for you. And now you got to make it happen. Right. And if you can't make it happen, then you
Right.
got to look like it's going to happen.
Well, this is where imposter syndrome actually comes into play in a very, very negative way
Yes.
because you may already be feeling like I don't belong at the table. And then you're thrust into a position where people are telling you you're really, really smart. You have the vision and look what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
You
but
belong at this table.
But then you're not in a space or mentally where you can even like get out of that.
Or you know,
Because you can't
the
say
truth,
no.
right?
You can't say the
Yeah,
truth at that point.
that's right.
Like, what would she
You're
ever say?
right.
In fact, she's never said, I'm talking about Elizabeth Holmes, she's never once said that she didn't have the technology.
She's never going to.
And she's never going to, even though
Yeah.
she's going to prison, thank God,
Yep.
which is
She
there's some
probably never
justice in this
will.
world. Well, I hope so. But anyways, that's a separate note. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like you catch a wave and people get us all these really
Mhm.
smart people who probably rationally would be like, whoa, 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 what's happening right now?
Right.
Like, this is for real? Let's see like, but then it's like, oh, well, so-and-so said so. Walgreens invested. Look at,
Yes.
and then so the same thing happens. Like Intermountain invested in Olive. Like
Yep.
at some point you guys would be like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
They don't even use them.
Yeah, we've talked to
I don't
other
think.
institutions that used Olive, and they were, in the early stages,
Right.
right? They were given like a lot of tech for free, and they were given things to kind of get, started, and so they made the investment. Now they have to kind of live with it, right? So I think they're gonna have to. They're doing the same thing, right? We bought this product, we made an investment, we started walking down this road. Now they got to make it happen. Whether that means that they have to use the technology now and they have to take on that debt, or they're gonna,
or their
hold,
just investment's gone. I mean,
Yeah.
at some point you're not going to be able to pay everybody.
or you just say we're not going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what will happen.
Wow.
Again,
That's just scary.
yeah, I don't. Again, I don't know. I don't have any ill will towards any of those companies. It just felt like, okay, well, this is how many times are we going to let this happen? Where it's like, again, if someone gives, if you take $90 million, no one bats an eye. You tried. You tried something. You pushed the envelope. I have
Yeah.
all kinds of respect for that. When you take almost $1 billion, there's another level of like, okay, I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah.
That's how I don't know. That's probably my explanation.
It'll be interesting to see what they do in 2023.
Yeah, I'm sure they have to change their model to be more standardized. they'll probably do a similar approach that
Mhm.
Akasa is doing, where it's like, this is the authorization robot we have,
Yeah.
which makes sense. I think that's probably the right way.
Yeah. Be niche. Do
But I don't know how
something, do
you
it
can't
really
make
well.
the hard part is I don't know how you can't make a $4 billion company out of that.
No.
No way.
No.
In fact, I would argue that you are going to be hard pressed to get more than, $50 to $100 million in revenue. Any way you swing that.
Do you think they changed their name?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. I would. But that's me.
Change your name, get
Yeah.
a nose job.
That's
Hope nobody
right.
I mean,
recognizes
our
you.
Try
one did it.
dye your
Accretive did
hair.
it. Accretive did it, and I was like, how long is it going to take him for change the name? You should change that name immediately.
Change your name.
Because at least you kind of left that behind, you know?
Well, I think though they're in a place where if they change their name, it wouldn't be a secret. Like they couldn't do it without coverage, right?
Yeah, but that's okay. People
Right.
forget over time.
People forget over time. Yeah.
Do they?
They forget that you were,
Oh, Accretive? I mean, like, no
Blonde
one almost
and-
remembers the Accretive
maybe-
name unless
Blonde.
you're part of it.
And like maybe because I know because of Ben, so many people at Creative that I still think it's a real thing.
I've met many people that used to work at Accretive since
Yeah.
knowing Ben.
Oh, is that a good thing? That sounded
Like,
like,
oh,
all
nice
the
to
good
meet
ones.
you.
that sounded like a
Sure.
shot.
all the good
Sounded like a
ones.
shot. There's good people there. And that's why I
Yes.
say people wrote me about. I got a lot of text messages and direct messages about my Olive post, right? A lot of people I don't know sending me like, you don't even know half the story, which I did not respond to, for the record. I'm not an investigative journalist. I
But you
don't
kinda
really
wanted
care.
to know,
I
right,
want to know,
though?
but I
Yeah.
don't really want to know,
I
right?
understand.
Because
Mhm.
ultimately, there were really, really good people at Accretive.
Yep.
I'm sure there's very, very good people at Olive.
Yes.
I met a lot of them. I'm sure there's good people at all those
Mhm.
places.
Right.
And I would say to Accretive, our biggest thing was just culture. Culture ended up killing it and creating a culture of, like, as Ryan O'Hara puts it, creating a culture of assholes. And that was a problem.
Yeah.
And so I even at this point will not, like a couple people I know from that time who I just was like, I can't believe they act that way. I don't even hold it against them, and I don't think that's who they are. I think
Really?
ultimately the culture was just in such a way had created would bring out the worst of someone. But I don't really think that's how people are. In fact, and that's proven probably true so many times where I've met people again and be like, they're not at all what I thought they were.
What is this culture that they created? What did it look like?
I think, and probably like, how do I say this? Not maybe like intentionally, but not necessarily intentionally of like winning at all cost,
Oh.
or getting and really winning or getting revenue at a client site at all cost,
Oh.
which is not necessarily a bad thing. We did get results. I would say results at all cost, right? But then what happens is it becomes, Mary's big thing was, who was CEO at the time and founder, brilliant, one of the smartest people I've ever been around. But her big thing was like rack and stack people. And so she would do that. You ever heard that term?
No.
Rack and stack, where it's like you put everybody like results and you just rack and who's at the top,
Mhm.
who's the
Yeah.
bottom. It's like rack and stack. And that was what she would do all the time with everybody within the company. So I ran a site, I had a couple sites that I ran, and she would call me. This is something she would do. She'd call me, like call my cell phone and be like, oh, Lord, like Mary's calling me. This is early on when, she knew everybody. And again, she's brilliant. I'm like, oh, no, I got to take this phone call, right? So I take the phone call and be like, Ben, I got you on speaker here, and I've got so-and-so in a room, so-and-so, all these people in a room. Can you tell them what you're doing in this one area? And I'm just like, because I had done something, I don't know, at the time, I don't remember what it was. So just like done something innovative, and
Right.
and I was like, okay, sure. And then you feel like an a-hole, but you're like, she put me on the spot.
Right.
And then they have to be like, and so I'd get afterwards be like, Ben, what the I'm like, I didn't have a choice.
She asked me. I
And
had
some
to
of it
say
might be like, we did it for like 3 weeks. Like, it's not like
Wow.
So the good thing about that type of culture was it got results. You innovated quickly. You
Mhm.
failed, quickly. You just kept moving. You push the envelope, but it creates scenarios in which people, and I've seen this, people lied all the time about
Oh.
falsified results.
Yeah.
It happened all the time. And I would say, and then people got caught and they got fired, it's like, but like, you created the culture in which that was not encouraged, but it was basically encouraged.
Yeah, it was necessary.
Right.
It
'Cause
was
the only way
necessary.
to succeed was
Yeah,
to
the only way to
Right.
succeed. Right.
be
Right.
So
an
yes, I
asshole,
think
apparently.
I think I think and I don't know. I could just tell from my experience there that happened, and it quickly kind of like caused the
Interesting.
downward spiral, which they've recovered from, but it was close for a
I
while.
love hearing about bad cultures. I've learned so much from listening to people's like worst experience in a job, right? Like what's the
100%.
worst culture you've ever worked in and what did it look like? And I try to remember these, like to not create that culture, right? Don't create that culture. Because I'm sure she did not think of those
It's
unintended
unintended
consequences,
consequences.
right? When she
100%.
decided, okay, I'm going to rack and stack, she didn't think, and then I will destroy my company. In the meantime,
Right.
everyone will turn into
No,
liars.
absolutely.
You know? Yeah,
And-
I know.
And Mary's like one of her faults was that she was super loyal to people. That is a great trait.
Yeah.
The problem is she would bring people in and she'd be loyal because she was loyal to them, and those people were a-holes.
Yeah.
And they didn't know anything about the business, and they would ruin it. But she'd be
Yeah.
loyal to them, right? And I'm like, you can't bring your tennis coach and hire him
Mm-hmm.
and put him at a VP level. You know how many, at the time I was like a senior manager or something. Do you know how many VPs reported to me at different times? So
Wow.
imagine senior manager, director, senior director, VP. Those are
Right.
the 4 levels. They reported to me multiple times all the time. I was training them all the time. And I'm like, because they'd come in, they don't know anything about the business. And they came in as a VP. And I'm like, what the frick is this? This
Yeah.
is crazy. Like,
Wow.
and they're people. So I'm trying to be helpful. But it's like, oh man, that was rough. It was tough.
Wow.
So yeah, you create these things where you don't think it's going to be bad. And it's bad. I don't know. We got talking about
Sounds
creative.
sounds familiar.
That could be a whole
that
other podcast.
mentality of like, oh, let me bring in. I had a really great waitress last night. She's gonna be great.
Oh yeah, she's going to be great.
I've
Yeah.
heard that story before.
And sometimes it works out great,
Mhm.
and that's a good thing. It's a good story, but it's
Yes.
like, yeah, but you can't do that. Like, you can't bring your sister and brother-in-law and cousin, and like, you can't do that like
No.
50 times.
No.
So,
Wow.
all right, I don't know. We got a diatribe there. We went south. I don't know what
We
That
did.
happened.
happens.
Let's bring it back in. Talk about trophies. It's exciting.
Oh, do you
Time
want
for
to do
trophies.
awards?
Oh, awards.
Okay.
I
Well,
love
don't know what's
awards.
going
Who doesn't love getting an award?
on. Well, for we
No
should-
one's gonna be like, I don't do awards.
I don't
like,
do
I don't
awards.
do
I don't want-
that.
I don't
No,
want that.
thank you.
No, we have had this conversation. We never had the podcast.
We didn't.
We never had we were gonna remember we did the whole. Remember, you should remember we did the whole
Mhm.
series of myths, and rev cycle.
Yes.
Yes.
We never did the awards.
No. We waited
No
until
one would do
the-
that.
Nobody wanted to do it because I don't think they could maybe really say how they felt about awards.
You think
Maybe
so?
that's why. I don't know. I spent a lot of time thinking about awards over the last couple of days. Like, why do people want awards? Like, why is this important? Why do people value it? Like, it can't just be the basics. Like, it's recognition. Who doesn't love to be recognized? Who doesn't like to be recognized for something they've done or a team? Like,
Of course.
everybody loves those awards, but no one's going to come on a podcast and say, except for these awards, right? Or here are the
Right.
awards that I think are stupid.
Oh, you mean
Or
the ones you pay for?
Here are the
What?
awards that are based
30 to
on
30.
on
Those awards?
manipulated
40.
information. We all know those awards. Every single person listening to this podcast knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say the awards that are based on
Performance, quote unquote.
right your
Yes.
own data that you submit in an Excel spreadsheet, maybe a PDF, and nobody checks anything about it, right? And you're gonna be like, my AR days are 5. I have
5.
billions of cash on hand. I have got, I only run my revenue cycle with 4 people. We have 7,000 beds, and you're like, oh, award for you. You're great.
It's with disdain that I have for it. I don't know why, but so much. And part of me says, like, I shouldn't be that mad about it, but there's something about those words in particular you're describing.
Yes. It's
And how on
infuriating.
LinkedIn it'll be like constantly.
Yep.
Or the vendor one, I won't mention their name too, because I like those guys, but like, that's the same thing.
So do I. And I've said to that vendor, like, I've never gotten an award. Like, how come I've never gotten an award?
But I like what they're doing, but the problem is, like, they'll be like, we won this award in this category. And I'm like, okay, but that's not the total population of like all the vendors possible in that space. And in fact, it looks like only 7 went for it. And there's probably 100 of those people. So how could you have
Right.
like, I get it. It's
Do
probably
you
an
know,
empirical process. It really is. But
when
like, that's
I,
not a thing.
it's
I
not a
don't,
thing. It's not a thing. I signed up with a vendor a few years ago and they actually sent like a plaque. It was like it was a plaque. And it
Well, they
said,
send it to
it was
you?
our Vanderbilt, revenue cycle team award. I'm like, for what? Like, well, because you're just the best client. I'm like, we signed up with you like 4 minutes ago and you already sent me an award. Like people like those things, right? They want to put them in cases or display or
Sure.
maybe show it to others or just talk about it in general. But those are not valuable awards. They're not based on anything, to your point, of merit, right? We started doing business with you, so you sent me a plaque. Like, thanks,
Well, it might be on merit, but I just feel like their circumstances are so much different at every place. Like,
It's hard to
every place is a
compare.
different volume mix and different types of things and different payers, and like they're just all different. And I'm not saying there's not value in measuring against the people, but
Sure.
but we have to take it as like a grain of salt. Some of that value is not exactly like, it's not the same thing as I'm trying to like
Children's hospitals can't compete
That's
with,
right.
with dedicated cancer centers, who cannot compete with academic medical centers, who can't compete with regional hospitals, who can't compete with, community hospitals or, rural hospitals. Like, all of those are so different. And then add geographics to it and population. And like you said, payers, all of that. Everybody's organization is
there's
different.
lots of different things. I went through an Epic implementation. I have access to an IT group that actually does stuff for me.
Yep.
I don't have access to that.
I use
don't-
Cerner.
I have no
yeah.
money to hire people. My
I have no
HR
money.
group sucks. I mean, there's a million things.
Yes.
So, anyways, so I guess I would preface these awards and things that we're going to talk about now is like, these were totally random. We did not discuss ahead of time what they were. And if I left somebody out, I apologize in advance. And I don't know if we'll repeat this again next year, depending on the feedback.
Depending on how this goes.
It would be so nice to give out awards to people who come to do podcasts. You just don't know what your award's going to be until the end of the year.
Oh,
Give
that's
out
true.
random awards.
That's
to
true.
people. Secret.
Yes. Well, that'd be fun. Maybe we'll see where this goes. Maybe we'll end up being like the awards. Yeah.
That's right.
We'd have to come up with a good name like the Razzies.
I
Yes,
tried to
it would
think
have to
of
be
one.
something of
I'm trying to
a
think of
Like
one.
the
What can I come up with?
Benzies. Could we do the Benzies? Could we
the
do
Regal
that?
Awards.
The Regal
He does.
Award.
No, please don't attach
Regal
my name
Award.
to it. That sounds very pretentious.
Could you imagine?
That sounds very
You're
pretentious.
getting a Regal Award
Yes.
for
It does sound
Regal
cool, but
Award
it is
for-
it does happen
For
to be honest.
actually rolling your eyes in the middle of a conference and letting out a gigantic sigh. Or
I did that, didn't I? Definitely did that.
so many people were so authentic in our last forum. I want to just feel like I wanted to hug everybody who had like a
Oh,
true
yeah.
emotion.
Well,
So
I think
true.
Like
that
the true
there's an award.
emotion.
The attendees.
Well, I
of
probably
the
did that at your
fall
Becker's
forum.
panel, and I feel like I was standing because I could not force myself to sit down because it was so just painful for me in so many ways. So
It was painful for me too.
my face was probably people are looking over, just like, what is wrong with that guy? But I was like, oh my god, this is terrible.
It was
Yours wasn't even as bad as the other one I went to. It was awful. That's a separate subject. That's one of my. I don't want to get
It's
there
on
yet.
his list.
It's on my list. All right, let's do it. Who wants to go first? Is it me? Do you want me to go first? What's happening?
Well, I can go first. I have just.
Gina, you go first.
I'm going to start with one word. Actually, I did mention.
Did you
this.
name the award? Like, what is it?
Well, I was going to say most optimistic or sunny side up RCM leader, and that was for Candace, who came on the podcast and talked about payers with love and empathy.
She did.
True. She really did.
I
It was a
will
beautiful
second
thing.
that
She
because
did.
And
she did. Yep.
so
Candace was on my list as well. I had her for best episode
oh,
this year.
same. Tied in.
And
nice.
just overall badass. That's what I
Mhm.
had. Those are my award for Candace.
Candace is great. She's very authentic, which I always have appreciated about her. She's straightforward, transparent, tries
Stands
to do
up
the
for
right
what she
thing.
believes.
Absolutely.
Even when I don't agree all the time.
Yes.
That's fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she was. I actually did think. I mean, I thought we had a lot of really good episodes this year, but I thought overall, just the conversation, I felt like we could talk. I felt like that was one of those episodes we could have talked for 2.5, 3 hours, and it wouldn't have stopped, and it would have been great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now I regret kind of stopping it, to be honest. Because I often feel like I'll feel like, oh, the natural time. Like, okay, it feels like we should wrap
Right.
it. I should have just let it keep going because I felt like, oh, that could have been. I could have just broken it into 2 episodes. Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah. We could have had a lot more conversations.
It was
about.
so good.
I think some of the stuff that that Candace as a leader has done in her organization is worth a whole other podcast. I mean, just the relationships that she's built and the way that she's kind of gone about that, which is really, I think, at the heart of how she leads, right? Is through relationships. I think she's got a lot of good stories. She's got a great connection to Epic. She's got all of us in mind when she, makes decisions about things or she's trying to figure things out. She's so open to feedback and is willing to give it in return, and it's always honest. And I mean, she's by far one of my very select go-to people when I need to really think about something. So I have an award when I speak about that with my go-to person.
Let's do it.
So I will say, I think an award for Scott Williams. At
Really?
Duke.
Well, what's the award?
I will
Can't
say
just say award.
I don't know how to name it because he is always willing to help somebody else. He's always willing to
The Giver Award.
like.
Yeah.
I could ask Scott anything tomorrow.
So
I could
true.
say, "Help me understand my self-pay AR," and he would be like, "No problem. How can I help? What can I do? This is what I think you should think about. Here are some strategies." He is articulate and kind and always helpful, and I really admire him. I mean, he is like kind and gracious and open, and he's all of that. That's like just one big gigantic awesomeness package right there. Give him the award for awesomeness.
Wow.
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 All right.
That feels like the best picture. It should have come at the end.
Awesomeness.
the end of the Oscars broadcast.
All right. Yeah, no, that's a good one. Scott's the best. I was bummed that this
I know,
year
I
that he had
missed
a
him.
travel ban and we didn't have him
Yes.
either in a session.
I've missed him. I still have his
He-
new sweatshirt. So we'll send him his sweatshirt
need
and
to.
a certificate.
I love
And an
his
award.
perspective. I would love to do a live podcast with Scott. I think we've done. He's
He's been on the show 3 or 4 times.
Yes, and I love his perspective on things. I always walk away thinking about things in a different way. Always. It's like a gift. I hope
She
that
doesn't say
even
that
when he
about me,
doesn't,
but that's fine.
I didn't say that about you.
It's all right.
She's
I
like,
mean,
I always
Ben-
walk away from this angry when I talk to you.
But not angry with you. I don't.
No,
I'm angry
of course
in
not.
general.
Of course not. All right, that's a good one. All right, who's next? Am I next?
It's
All right, my award goes to what was my award? Now I have to think about it.
most willing to take a chance.
Most willing to take a
Most
risk.
willing to take a risk.
Yep.
And I'm gonna give that to Marty Edelstein from Alina. And Marty was responding to our friend Kelly, who had done a whole thing around no point of service collections and how she's kind of proven that that's done really well down where she's at, which was the opposite of like what everyone had been saying for 10 years. And Marty gets up and he does this whole thing where he's like, look, I don't know if I necessarily believe in the statistics or the correlations, but I'm going to try it at one of my hospitals. I'm going to take one of my hospitals. We're just going to see what happens. And I was like, that is amazing, right? Because like you'd want someone to like, he doesn't even necessarily
Yeah.
believe in the story, but he's like, I'm going to take a risk and just see what happens. He tried it at 2 different facilities, which we got the updates.
Mm-hmm.
We got the update at 2 different facilities. And he said one was just pushback from like leadership on
Mhm.
it, and that didn't work.
Yep.
But the other one, killing it. And he's
Yeah.
like, it's like, so he's like, yeah, I'm going to see if I can roll it back out of the other place and try it a few more places. But it's like, yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome to kind of see the follow up. And I just appreciate kind of, again, not necessarily believing it 100%, but willing to take a chance. And I think that, so I give him an award for willing to take a risk.
That's good.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just so appreciate Madi joining our board this year. And I just really appreciate his perspective. And I love that he is somewhat like our dear friend Heather Dunn here, fearless in speaking his mind and I appreciate that in people.
Yeah, it doesn't hold back.
Yeah.
No,
I like it.
No.
no,
No.
he does not.
All right,
That's
who's
very
next?
good.
Who's next? Tina, you got
So
another one?
I'm gonna take a little aside from revenue cycle specifically, but to for the most willing to be vulnerable, our dear friend Nate, during the imposter syndrome
Yeah.
part 2 piece, where he really, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
I didn't know where it was going, and it was really impressive because I think when you meet Nate and see Nate and know him, you would not think this is a turmoil that is welling inside of him. So I was really impressed with his willingness to just put it all out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody on that episode, all 3 of you on that episode, really did show us side of vulnerability in the examples that you had or the follow up, because I think it's okay. It was a safe space to just say, you know, this is kind of scary. And sometimes I feel like, you know, I'm not always going to be able to do what I need to be doing in this room, right? Or if I know what I need to know, and it's hard. Everybody's got a little bit of it, but I think he was open enough to and willing enough to share. I heard all of you do that.
Oh.
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't. It's funny because I don't think I planned much of that. I was like, oh, let's just do it again. And Nate, you come
Right.
on it. Because Nate and I have talked a bunch, about that offline.
Mhm.
But I didn't know we were going to do that whole thing. It was great.
He's
That's
done
awesome.
a fair amount of like self-evaluation. He's really kind of dug into
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you could tell that he's like, that I figured out this is why. Here's the trigger. Here's what goes on. Here's what happens. And, I think that's everyone's greatest fear is to be in a
Being found
room
out.
and to be found out, right? Like, I don't really know that. Or we do this leadership training once a month with about 50 people in revenue cycle, people who have direct reports. And today we did one. And we were talking about curiosity, right? Being a trait that we all want to have as a leader. But when are you not curious? When are you afraid to be curious? What are the risks of that?
Absolutely.
And it is absolutely at the core, the imposter syndrome. You don't want to ask a question in case you look like you don't know. Like, am I something I'm supposed to know, right? Or say I don't know. Let's talk about that. How do we figure this out? It was resoundingly, the risk was, I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't want to be vulnerable like that. I want to always have the answer. That's because having the answer is, in most people's opinion, where you can, be competent. You can show your competency.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. He was very vulnerable and very humble and honest, and that's great.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of feedback from that one. Good one, Tina. Good one.
Thanks.
That was
All right, Heather, you got another one?
I don't have another one, but I wanted to show you my trophy that I brought.
Wait a second. You don't have another one?
No, not
okay.
yet.
Well, I do. Let me hold on. You wait.
No,
You
wait,
have a
now I'm
trophy?
gonna
You're giving
show
a
you-
trophy?
I'm bringing my trophy. I brought a trophy
Okay, show us the
here.
trophy.
For herself.
Why did you
For
bring a
myself.
trophy for yourself?
I brought my trophy.
Oh, you got
It's
a
my
trophy.
own trophy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
let's see it.
awards, trophies, whatever. It's all the same stuff.
Okay, whatever. Yeah. Plaque. Girl.
There you go. It's my trophy.
Okay, everybody, it's a desk sign that you would see on a desk in a movie that would have
Girl
the boss's
boss.
name on it. It
That's
says
right.
girl boss.
Yep.
That's right.
That's it. And some days when I just am feeling like I'm living the imposter syndrome, I just take my girl boss sign on my desk and I remember, like, you're here.
It's you.
You just do this.
That's a good one.
There's my
There it
trophy.
is. Boom.
Okay,
Girl
now back
boss.
to the awards show.
No,
Ben,
that was good.
Take it away.
I feel like I want to unpack that for a whole episode.
I
but
know. Let's dig into
I just-
why this has
Let's dig
value.
in.
No one can see it, but here it is right
I can-
here.
well,
So
I was
you-
like,
you
turn
can
it,
show the
turn it to the
camera. Show
camera.
the camera.
There it is. Oh, there
Oh, yeah.
it
There you go.
is.
There you go.
Nice.
And now that I work from home and I have 2 little girls, it's even more important. I leave it on
Absolutely.
my desk. They can see it.
Okay, I'm gonna go 2. I have 2 more, and then I got a couple Razzies to give out. I'm gonna go best salesperson.
Oh my gosh, you didn't.
I did.
Do I get to decide who it is? How about the salesperson
Oh.
who contacts me the most? Is that an award I
That's a
can give
Razzie.
out?
Yes,
That's a
Razzie.
Razzie
We'll do
award.
that.
You saved
we'll do
that
too.
for.
No, I thought it was good. Like,
Yeah.
we'll just recognize our vendors. I have
Yeah.
a tie. Okay, so I have a tie.
Okay.
I have a tie. I put Kevin McCadden.
I love
He's great.
Right, he's gonna be surprised by this.
Kevin.
and a tie and I don't even know if I consider John Scala a
He's not a
salesperson
salesperson. He is
at all.
He's a beautiful unicorn.
But
He's
his own way,
creature.
I felt like we had to recognize John in some way. He's just like the nicest guy. John would give you his shirt off his back. That's what I would have say. And he never asks about anything almost work related. It's just he's always kind of like around. Even Chris Carmi, you know Chris Carmi.
Mhm.
Carmi always says like I had to try to explain it to like R1 leadership. Like what does John do? And he's like, you just got to leave him alone. Just let him do his thing. No one reports to him. Don't do any of that stuff. Let him do his thing. I was like, I love that about him. Anyways, I thought Kevin just the nicest guy.
I don't actually know
unassuming.
what Kevin does at FTI. Like, I've never asked him.
I think he's over sales.
We've never talked about it, but he just like all of
Exactly.
a sudden is a part of my life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, where did he come from? Like, why is he like knows my kids? He knows I like cannolis. He's like, hey, I heard you're going to Boston. Like, let me tell you some places.
And there were a
to go,
lot of
things
good
you don't like.
salespeople. So there's the bad ones, but there's
Is
a lot of
he
good
a
ones.
salesperson?
I think so. So he's gonna be like, I'm not really considered. Anyways, I'm generalizing, but you know what I mean.
I love Kevin. He's great.
So, anyways, Kevin from FTI.
Boom.
That was my awards
And I would say that I'd
person.
like to say that Scala always brings sort of an interesting emotional state to the forum. I think that he brings, like, he looks at it from a different point of view. He's always like, this makes me believe in what we're doing again. This makes, like,
Yeah, I think
that
he was doubting
people
it for a
care,
bit,
that
right.
people, actually are invested in changing this and growing. And I think, like, the fact that he's acknowledged that multiple times to me, I just think, like, that's cool, because that's not a response we often get, is like the emotional response to, other than that Heather wants to hug everybody from the last one, which I think is an emotional response.
Did I hug everybody? Oh,
Did you
No,
just
you said you
whisper there?
wanted
She just
to.
whispered.
I
it.
just whispered it, yeah.
I wanted to hug people.
She did.
I'm a hugger.
You're a hugger.
She's a hugger.
Are you?
I am a hugger. I am. I know.
You're all
I
tough on the
can
outside.
take-
It's like,
yeah.
don't poke
I
the
know.
bear. I
No.
wouldn't consider you a hugger.
No.
That's
A little
interesting.
bit of a hugger.
I
Some
think-
people.
Do we
Others,
hug?
I'm
We
sort
hug,
of like,
but
yes.
like, yeah, I don't know if that
Yeah.
was just a thing. But like, okay.
I'm not the backslapping hugger. Like, I'm not like those people.
Oh.
I don't like that. I
No.
don't do the whole like,
I know.
come here.
I don't know
pat.
those
No,
people.
I don't. No.
I don't
But
know
the
those
people I like there was a lot of hugging going on at Becker's. A lot of hugging.
Okay, we can stop that. Well, let's get to Becker's in a second. We can't go there yet. Okay, I have one more award. I would say I'm gonna call this Innovator of the Year. My Innovator of the Year. You may not agree, but I put Kelly Thornton down, and I think Kelly, like, she kind of got pushed into doing no point of service collection. But I just think every time I talk to Kelly, I'm like, she is doing something different, interesting, and knows the details about almost everything that's happening in her shop. And I always find that to be just fascinating. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you have to know that stuff, but she just like digs in, and she'll just try anything almost. I mean, she's like willing to go, yeah, let's do that. Let's figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Or I'm not doing that. Let's go do this. So I appreciate Kelly, and I just think she's just like, she goes and tries stuff, and I like that about her.
Yeah.
So that's
Sure.
Kelly, my Innovator of the Year.
Okay. I was going to say, are you saying that because she beat you at tennis?
I beat her, but that's fine. It's for the record. No, she's a good tennis player. I got lucky. I had a good day. I had a good day, and she had an off day. That's what happens. All right. Well, let's end on a positive note. We had a good year. Thank you for being a co-host on so many episodes this year. A special guest co-host.
That was really fun.
I hope you had fun.
I did. I had a lot of fun.
We'll definitely have you back next year. All right. Well, it was great. Thanks, Heather.
Ben. It was a good
Thanks,
year.
Tina.
Thank
Tina.
you.
All
Happy
right.
to be here.
That's a wrap.
My good friends, my good friends, my good friends. Do a little bit of everything. Cause it takes a bit of everything. My good friends, my good friends,